Today, we're going to look at the big picture of our planet's environmental challenges. And here's the thing. These aren't separate problems happening in isolation. Nope, it's more like a giant set of dominoes, all lined up. One tips over and it sets off a whole chain reaction. So let's see how they fall. Let's just start with this one number, 68%. What does that mean? Well, since 1970, that's the average drop in the population sizes of mammals, fish, birds, and reptiles. It's a staggering loss. You could call it a silent emptying of our world. And that, right there, is our first domino. So what's behind a number that big? How does that even happen? Well, that's what our first section is all about. We're going to look at how we are, quite literally, fraying the web of life itself. You know, there really isn't a huge mystery here. The number one reason for this massive decline is something called land use change. Basically, we're taking all these incredible natural habitats, forests, grasslands, you name it, and we're converting them into agricultural systems, mostly to grow our food. And to give you a sense of the scale, we lose about 10 million hectares of forest every single year. That's an area about the size of Portugal just gone. And this happens year after year after year. About 96% of that is happening in tropical forests, which are, of course, the richest ecosystems on the entire planet. Now, this pressure isn't spread out evenly across the globe. Just look at this. Almost half of all that tropical deforestation is happening in just two countries, Brazil and Indonesia. And that puts two of the most critical ecosystems we have, the Amazon and the Borneo rainforests, in extreme danger. Okay, so habitat loss is a huge symptom, but what's the actual root cause? What's driving all this change? And that brings us to our next section, which is really about what we produce and what we consume. It's about the price of plenty. And would you believe it, the single biggest driver of all this deforestation is beef. Just cattle ranching alone is responsible for a whopping 41% of tropical forest loss. Then you have other big commodity crops like soy and palm oil, ingredients that are in thousands of products we all use every single day. And here's where it gets really interesting, where you see the cycle connect. When you think of soy, what comes to mind? Tofu? Soy milk? Well, get this. An incredible 77% of all soy grown is used for animal feed. It's mostly for the exact same meat industry that's driving all that deforestation in the first place. It's a really powerful feedback loop. All right, so we're clearing land on this epic scale to produce more and more food. But let me ask you a question. What share of all that food we work so hard to grow actually ends up being eaten? The answer is just shocking. It's 1/3. Globally, 1/3 of all food we produce for humans is either lost or wasted. We're talking about 1.3 billion tons a year. That is enough food to feed 3 billion people. And you have to remember, when we waste food, we're also wasting everything that went into producing it. So, for example, throwing away just 1 kilogram of beef is like dumping 50,000 liters of fresh water right down the drain. It's just an unbelievable drain on our planet's resources. And the pressure just keeps mounting. The sheer intensity of our modern food system is also completely exhausting the very ground beneath our feet. The UN says that about 40% of the world's soil is now considered degraded. That means it's losing the stuff that makes it fertile and capable of storing carbon. So now let's zoom out a little bit, because the impact isn't just on the land we're using, it's spilling out everywhere, into our shared resources, our oceans, our air. This is all about the pollution of our global commons. Every year, 14 million tons of plastic waste finds its way into our oceans. It's just this relentless tide of plastic that's harming wildlife, destroying marine habitats, and choking entire ecosystems. And here is why this problem is so difficult to solve. A staggering 91% of all the plastic we've ever made has never been recycled. And this stuff can take 400 years to decompose. That means pretty much every piece of plastic ever created is still out there somewhere. Now, while our oceans are choking on plastic, our air is a huge issue too. The World Health Organization estimates that air pollution is responsible for the deaths of 7 million people around the world every single year. In fact, 9 out of 10 people are breathing air that has high levels of pollutants. So, we've looked at the symptoms, we've looked at the immediate causes. Now for our final section, let's pull back the curtain even further and look at the unseen forces that are powering this whole system. our energy, and our new technologies. The engine driving so much of this is, of course, our reliance on fossil fuels, and the result is undeniable. The past 10 years have been the 10 warmest years ever recorded, with 2024 being the hottest of all. This isn't some random blip on the radar. It's a clear, accelerating trend. And this warming leads to some truly terrifying feedback loops. Because of all the deforestation we've been talking about, the Amazon rainforest, which used to be one of the planet's great carbon sponges, has flipped. It now actually emits about 1 billion tons of CO2 per year. That's about the same as the entire country of Japan. A critical ally has become part of the problem. And as we look toward the future, we have to talk about our newest, most powerful tool, artificial intelligence. It has enormous potential, for sure, but it also comes with this hidden environmental cost in energy, water, and hardware that we're really only just starting to wrap our heads around. Here's what that hidden cost actually looks like in the real world. A simple chat with a big AI model, asking it some questions, that can use up 1/2 liter of fresh water just to keep the massive data centers cool while they process your request. It's a very real-world cost for something that feels completely digital. So, from the loss of biodiversity to our food system, from the plastic in our oceans to the code running on servers, all these crises are connected. They're all dominoes, one after another in a long, complex line. And that leaves us with a really critical question, doesn't it? As our challenges get more complex and our technologies get more powerful, how do we make sure our solutions today don't just become tomorrow's problems?
That's a wrap on today's Explainer. If you're loving the content, show us some love with a like and subscribe for more urban planning goodness. Got a question or topic you'd like us to cover? Leave it in the comments. See you in the next video.